All right, good evening, everyone. Now call to order this meeting of the the committees of City Council for September 3rd, 2024. We'll begin with the roll call of members. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Madam President. Mr. Med.
Here.
Mr. Arroyo.
Here.
Mr. Cleese. Ms. Craig.
Here.
Ms. Diaz. Mr. Hirsch.
Here.
And President Baker.
Here. Councilors Calixt and Diaz are excused this evening. A couple of reminders at the top of the meeting for everyone. I ask that you please silence your cell phones and devices if you haven't done so already. This meeting and its participants are being recorded. Tonight we have meetings of committees of council. There are no general public comment periods during these meetings. However, committee chairs will call for comments from the public for specific agenda items. Those comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and they must begin with your name and block of residence for the meeting record. All right, we'll begin this evening's meeting of committees with the Finance Committee. Councilor Arroyo.
Thank you, Council President. We have one item on the agenda for this evening. It's a presentation by the Lancaster EMS for their 2025 budget request. I believe we have Mr. Bob May here today to lead us through the presentation. Mr. May?
Yep. Councilor Arroyo,
Yes.
would you forgive me for just a moment if I go backwards because I forgot something very important on our agenda? This will just take us one moment.
Absolutely.
The first thing we actually need to do is approve the minutes from the August 5th, 2024 meetings of committees of council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any council comments on those meeting minutes? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Med.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Mr. Hirsch.
Aye.
And President Baker.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, roll that back.
Thank you, Council President. I'll welcome Mr. May to the podium for this year's presentation. Mr. May? And if you want to, sorry, Mr. May, if you could just make sure the microphone is on, should be a little light in there.
How about now?
Perfect.
All right, thank you. Well, again, thank you. Presentation, just going to spend a few minutes and I'm going to touch on a few of these slides. So what you have up now is a page with just some fast facts about Lancaster EMS. If I could ask you to go to the next page, please. This page represents, and you can just leave it right there. So that top right graph, this page represents acuity of 911 calls in the city of Lancaster. So you see the red bar, that's class 1. That's the highest acuity. That is calls, these are calls that are advanced life support. So you can see the city is right about 52% across, and that has stayed pretty static since 2019. And if you scroll up just a little bit, the bottom right, the line graph, the calls have doubled since 1997, and we're almost at 10,000 calls the end of last year. And you see that dip, that's the pandemic. During the pandemic, our calls dropped off across our entire response area about 30%. All right, next graph, please. This graph represents the nature of the calls, 2023 compared to 2022. You see for both years, the top response was for a sick person. This could be anything from an overdose, an unconscious person, or just not sure. And then everything else is listed there below. There's no standouts when I look at this compared to other municipalities that we serve. All right, next graph, please. Or the next page, please. This is time of day where the calls come in for the city of Lancaster. Again, about 10,000 requests for service. And it looks like it's about 11 o'clock in the morning, and then the second time would be about 6 p.m. in the afternoon. All right, one more graph below that is, these are day of the weeks. So Monday and Fridays are where most of the calls come in. All right, next page, please. This is payer mix. So this is how the distribution for the city of Lancaster is distributed regarding payer mix. Medicaid is the biggest, is the second payer, and Medicare is the first payer. And what's important about this graph is that we have to accept assignment. So if a call costs, it's about $600 per response is what it costs the organization to respond to a call. That's average, $600 per call. That's at ready cost. And we have Medicaid that reimburses us just over half of that, and then Medicare is about $450. So for over almost 60% of the calls in the city of Lancaster, we don't cover the cost to provide the service. And that's a big number. All right, scroll down to the bottom of that page, please. This is how much we collect by payer mix. So when you look at that first column, that's workers' comp, that's auto insurance. And then commercial is traditional insurance like Blue Cross, Highmark, so forth. With Medicaid, we collect about 40 cents on the dollar, and private insurance is self-pay. So when you add all that up, that's about 30, can't see that number there, I have a copy of it. I think it's about 38 cents for every dollar that we bill is what we collect for the city of Lancaster. All right, next page. So we sell subscriptions. We do this every year, and you can see where the city is just about 4% return. And then you can see where you stack up against the other municipalities that we serve as far as return on our annual subscriptions. All right, next page, please. This is an overview with what we ask by per municipality and what we got for this year in regards of support. Conestoga was the only township that didn't provide us any support at all. But you can see what our ask is, which is a blue line, and then you can see what the response was in regards, which is the orange line. And then the bottom right is our $700,000 a year is our goal, and we achieve about half of that. And how we come up with the $700,000? $700,000 annual is what we ask collectively of all of our municipalities. And that's distributed across the 21 municipalities based on the number of calls. So if we're asking for $1,000 across the board and we have 50% of our calls in the city of Lancaster, we're asking $500 from the city. So that's how we came up with the $327,000 ask that we're asking from the city over the last 5 years, or 4 years at this point. It's based on the number of calls. Okay, one more graph, I think. This is historically the giving or the support from the city of Lancaster. If you just go up maybe another half an inch, see, starting in 1997, we got no support to 02, and then we got some support. It dipped in 13, and then it ratcheted up to where we are today at $150,000. And it's been level for about 7 years. I think that's the last slide. Okay. So my ask is a sincere consideration that we get an increase in support. We have a large building project, as you may know. We purchased AMVETS 2 years ago, and we are rehabbing that property. We are adding an addition, and we're building a fleet maintenance facility. It's about $6.2 million. We're going to sell a building in Millersville. We're going to do a capital campaign that we expect that's not going to do well. We did a feasibility study. We hope, if we're lucky, it'll be $500,000. We're going to take out a low-interest loan with the state. It's about $500,000, and all the rest is coming out of our savings account. So we're going to draw our savings account down over 50%. Right now, we have 180 days cash on hand, which is 6 months of operating. Once we're done funding this building, assuming all things play out as expected, we're going to be about 80 days cash on hand, less than 3 months. And that's a critical position to be in. It's just not good business to have only 80 days of cash on hand. So we're asking all of our municipalities, all 21 that we ask for support, to step up and give fair share support. And our ask of this council and this municipality is $327,000. I have Senate Bill 987, I'll leave on the way out, which it's only a few paragraphs. It talks about the obligation of third-class cities and emergency medical services. So I'll leave that with Bernie on the way out. Other than that, that's my presentation. I know you're busy. I wanted to keep it under 10 minutes. And if you have any questions, I can certainly answer those.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. May. Just for context for council and the public, can you give a high-level overview of the structure of Lancaster EMS, how typically is it funded, the structure, and how it serves the different municipalities across the county?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So we are the largest EMS service, and this wasn't on purpose, by the way, that siren. We're the largest EMS service in the county, by far the largest. We run 54,000 requests for service every year. That's about 140 calls a day across our response area. We are a 501c3. We spun out of, for those that are familiar with this area from back in the day, we spun out of St. Joe's and Community Hospital of Lancaster. Both those hospitals were running advanced life support. They offloaded those two operations into Lancaster EMS. So we were incorporated in 1996, February, as a nonprofit ambulance service. LGH joined us a few years after that, and then some surrounding ambulance services became part of us over the years. So today we're the product of 8 separate ambulance services that have come together as one. We operate from 12 locations. Our complement of employees is about 185, and we are down about 15. Our vacancy rate is approximately 12%. We have a board of directors of 13. We have 4 from Penn, 4 from UPMC, and 5 community members. Mayor Sirachi serves on our board. She has for a couple years. We have a budget of about $19.5 is what it's costing us to operate. We have a fleet of 59 vehicles. And we not only run 911s, we also do a lot of inter-facility transports. And we do community paramedics, which is we have a team of 24, that's prevention. We go out into the homes and we keep people from going into the hospital via 911. And we also do a lot of education, and we run a mobile hygiene unit, the shower trailer. You may be familiar with our shower trailer. As far as funding, the majority of our funds come fee for service. Municipal support is about 3% of our budget. Subscription drive is about 4% of our budget. We do have contracts with some of the health systems to do transports. For example, LGH will call us and ask us to take a patient from here to Philadelphia, or here to Hershey, or here to wherever, and LGH pays us for that. They pay us for that if the insurance doesn't pay. But we do bill the insurance first, and when the insurance doesn't pay, LGH is the payer of last resort. So the majority of our funding does come from fee for service. But the issue with fee for service is people think because we bill, we get paid. And we only collect, if you take those 21 municipalities, an average amount, we collect just under 50 cents on every dollar that we bill. And that's tough. EMS is not sustainable. That's the bottom line. EMS is on the edge of a cliff. EMS across this country is in dire straits. I mean, if you Google the EMS crisis, you're going to find statistic after statistic where EMS operations are going out of business. So we are doing okay, but we want to stay doing okay, and we want to serve the city of Lancaster. We're not obligated to. We could just, a 90-day notice, we could leave. There's no law that says we have to serve any of our municipalities. I'm not suggesting that we're leaving. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just saying that there's no obligation for us to serve any of the municipalities that we serve. So what we're seeing across the country is EMS operations shrinking, and they are I don't want to say being selective, although I think it could possibly fit where some of the for-profits are being selective with areas that they serve with better payer mixes. Nonprofits are, like I said, it's not sustainable under the current model. We are dealing with a payer stratus that is antiquated. We are dealing with entitlements that don't cover the cost to pay. It's gotten better over the last few years, but it still doesn't cover the cost to provide the service. We have employees that are making an average wage. We have done a lot of work on our wages over the last few years. They're not commensurate with police and fire, although it's the same level of work. In some cases, it's busier than police and fire. It's just as risky. We've had a number of career-ending injuries over the last couple of years, and I'll just point out, if I could, just point out a couple that happened in the city. These could happen anywhere. So we had a accidental discharge of a firearm in the back of an ambulance. And the two of my medics, one said, "That's it, I'm done." And I understand that. We had a drive-by shooting. We got in the crossfire, and a round went through one of our vehicles right across the lap of a paramedic right into the steering column. That happened a year and a half ago. And we had a pit bull attack on one of our paramedics, knocked on the door, and the lady said, "Come on in." And the gentleman said, "What about the dogs?" And she said, "The dogs are fine." And he is no longer functioning. He had severe bites. One punctured his tibia. So it's high risk, very little reward, underappreciated. And you go on that first call and you're out running calls all day long on a 12-hour shift, and you don't get out after 12 hours. You get out after 14 hours. There's a lot of paperwork associated with it, and and you're exposed to all sorts of issues. So there's been a decline in trying to recruit for this industry. Again, this is not specific to Lancaster EMS. This is a nationwide crisis. Again, I'm just touching on the tip of the iceberg here. So there's a lot going on with this, a lot of dynamics. And part of my job here this evening is just to provide just a little bit of education. But we do need support. Hopefully I was able to give you some sense where our funding comes from.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the context and the background. The last question that I have is, and maybe I missed it, have you sought funding for, or I guess through county services to help subsidize or provide some of the missing, the shortfall in the budget?
I'm sorry, did we ask who?
Excuse me, approach county government for any funding for?
Yes. So county government, and I'm pretty close to a quote, "It's not their responsibility." And that's coming from county government. Josh Parsons served on our board for a couple years. He's well aware. Ray is. I've met with. Ray's also well aware. I've also met with Alice Yoder, and prior to Alice, I forget who that gentleman was. Prescott. Yes, Mr. Prescott. So one time they give me time, but I can tell you the county commissioners, at least two of them, feel that it's not a county responsibility. It is a municipal responsibility. That's their position. So to answer your question, yes, sir. I certainly have reached out many times over the years. We've been turned down with ARPA money on 3 occasions. We've applied for various things, and all 3 times we were turned down. So it's not for lack of trying.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee or full council?
Councilor, go ahead. Thank you very much for the presentation and all the information presented tonight. Did I hear you said the average cost per call is around $600?
It is. So we have a fixed cost. We have personnel on standby, in station, ready to respond, and there's a cost to that.
Mm-hmm.
These are not volunteers coming from home. These are career individuals, and there's a cost to it. And about 6 months ago, we ran the numbers. And it's probably a little higher than $600 per call,
Mm-hmm.
per 911 call.
Okay. Do you know kind of how that estimate was created, I guess?
Yeah, it's fairly simple. So we took the total calls, we divided it by the gross income. I'm sorry, the total expenses for 911 operations. We have different levels of operation. We have community paramedics, transports, and 911. So we took the 911 operations. This was 12 months. What the expense was for all that cost, and divided it by the number of 911 dispatches. So it was pretty simple math.
Okay. And that wasn't stratified across municipality at all?
It was not.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Councilor Ahmed?
Thank you, Councilor Roy. Thank you for your service, sir, and thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation today. I just had a question regarding the allocation by municipalities. Given that some calls in Lancaster City may not be Lancaster City residents, do you guys take that into effect in your calculations? That, I mean, there's many people with this us being the county seat. You know, there's many individuals who may not be residents of Lancaster City, but may be utilizing your services. Is that taken into account into how much allocations are requested from each individual municipality?
It is not. So what we look at, when we look at the data, so we get a spreadsheet every month in the 911 center, and it lists out by municipality. Now, we probably have the means to do that based on address, but we have never done that report. As far as transit, the workforce coming in and coming out, or tourists coming through, or tourists at the Marriott, no. So that is a total number of calls based on the people within the 2 or the 4 square miles. That's not determined whether they're transient or not, or residents. That is something that we could probably do, though.
Yeah,
I need to think on that.
Yeah, I would be interested in seeing that, given that we have many folks who may not be city residents
Sure.
who utilize EMS services. And then my final question was, are there any grant opportunities at the state or federal level that you'd like to be applying for?
Yes, there are. So we have a full-time grant writer. We've had for many years, and we apply for lots of grants, local, federal, and state. And we've been successful. We've been successful getting a few wheelchair vans. We are successful with some local grants that are, $5,000, $10,000. As far as the bigger grants, like the Federal Assistance to Firefighters grant, we apply every year. We usually $150,000. We've applied every year for 26 years and got it twice. And we keep applying. So the short answer is yes, we do apply for all sorts of grants. So we have full-time grant writer, and we have a third-party grant writer that we have contracted with.
Thank you. And that concludes my questions, Councilor Roy.
Thank you, Councilor Red. Any other additional questions or comments from council? From the public? Great. Mr. May, thank you for your presentation this evening.
Councilor, actually, sorry, can I ask one more question? Can we go to the graph of the collection rate by payer? I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. It's the one, at the top has the payer mix, and then at the bottom, it has the pie chart at the, sorry, I'm trying to see which page number, and it's not showing me. Yeah, this one. At the bottom, it has I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. At the bottom of this chart, it lists percentages, and my understanding is that that's just, you bill $1 to Medicare, and on average, you get 39.6 cents back. Is that how that number reads?
Yes, that is correct. So we collect about 40% of everything that we bill for Medicare for the city of Lancaster.
Okay.
Yes, so you are interpreting it correctly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Hirsch. And I do want to emphasize the question that Councilor Ahmed had asked regarding kind of dissecting that data a little bit, whether or not the calls that you're receiving in Lancaster City are in fact Lancaster residents or folks that come from the county in for a day trip and they needed Lancaster EMS issues. I think that would be good data to provide the council if possible.
Yeah, I think it's doable. I just need to think on how we're going to do that. But I think all the data's there.
Okay.
We have addresses, obviously.
Yeah.
With every, we have a lot of John Does and Jane Does, so that's going to be a challenge. But we do have addresses. So let me see what I can do,
Great.
and I'll get back to you. Who should I get back to?
You can send it.
Okay, perfect. Give me a couple of days.
Tim Stuhlter, One United Lancaster. Where the city fire and city police frequently respond to emergencies of various sorts. I think the fire department has some medical emergency capability. Just wondering if you could say a couple words how you interact with those two agencies and how those duties are divided. Sure.
Yeah, we have good partnership with City Fire and City Police. City Fire, as you may know, has a QRS license. QRS stands for Quick Response Service. They don't transport. They have EMTs on the apparatus where they can respond to certain acuity type calls. That's how they respond, and what calls they respond to is up to the Fire Bureau. They are licensed under the Department of Health to provide that service. The City Police Department, they will respond to some medical emergencies. They do carry Narcan, and AEDs, so they can provide early intervention. So we often, on the higher acuity calls, the ones that are life-threatening, it's not unusual to see police and/or fire on the call with us. And we sometimes will call the police as well if the crew feels unsafe.
Great, well,
Thank you. I do appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, thank you. Council President, that concludes the agenda for the Finance Committee.
Thank you very much, Councilor Arroyo. Our next meeting this evening is the Personnel Committee. In the absence of Councilor Kalik this evening, I've asked Councilor Hirsch to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. So we have 4 nominations on the Personnel Committee this evening, the first of which is our only appointment. The remaining 3 are reappointments to these boards. The first is Daniel Ruppert for appointment to the Airport Authority. This is an appointment that is happening due to the inability to accept an appointment by Mr. Charles Sims earlier this year, who we appointed back on May 14th to this board. It appears that at the time he was not aware that it was in policy of his employer that he could not be part of this board, and so this nomination is to replace Mr. Sims. Mr. Ruppert is a CPA employed by RKL and resides in the city of Lancaster, and he will be here on September 10th to present. So with that, I would make a motion to move the nomination of Daniel Ruppert for appointment to the Airport Authority to our main meeting of council on September 10th.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. The next appointment, as stated, the rest are reappointments. So this is Alexandra Rodriguez for reappointment to the Sign Commission. Her term would be from August 31st, 2024 to August 31st, 2027, it appears. Is Ms. Rodriguez here this evening? Okay, just checking. Usually with reappointments, we do not require the attendance. So she is being appointed to the Sign Commission, if I do not say that. So with that, I will make a motion to move the nomination of Alexandra Rodriguez for reappointment to the Sign Commission to our full meeting of council on September 10th.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. The next appointment is for Paul Fulmer to the Lancaster Industrial Development Authority. Mr. Fulmer's term is a 5-year term that will go from 12/31/23 to 12/31/28. Those are the dates that are listed. So I don't know if there's supposed to be a gap like that.
Often they're retroactive. So.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I will move the nomination of for reappointment to the Lancaster Industrial Development Authority, Paul Fulmer's reappointment to our full meeting of council on September 10th.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And our last appointment, our last agenda item for the Personnel Committee this evening is the reappointment of Gene Weglars, Benjamin Bamford, and Harold Bowers Jr. to the Lancaster Municipal Authority. I guess I'll ask one more time if any of those individuals are here this evening. I do not believe so. Okay. And I don't have any nominating papers. So, no, right here. For Ms. Jean Weglars, her term is a 4-year term from 12/31/23 to 12/31/27. The other 2 appointments are reappointments of 5-year terms for Mr. Bamford, 12/31/23 to 12/31/28, and for Mr. Bowers, 12/31/21 to 12/31/26. So with that, I would make a motion to move these three reappointments to our full meeting of council on September 10th.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, Council President. That concludes the Personnel Committee this evening.
Thank you very much, Councilor Hirsch. The next meeting on our agenda is community planning. Councilor Craig.
Thank you, Council President. Community planning has one item on the agenda this evening. That is the review of the Historical Commission recommendations for 132 to 134 South Prince Street. I do at least see one person from the Historical Commission if they would like to speak to it.
Also here, I think. The architects are also here.
Okay, good. And if you'd like to bring, if the ladies would have something to say, they more than welcome to.
Okay. Very, very good. I'm Danielle Kepperling. I live in the 700 block of North Franklin Street, and I'm also serve on the Historical Commission. And I was just here in case there were questions, but we did recommend the demolition of some of the exterior walls at 132 and 134 South Prince Street because of the structural issues that they encountered when they began the investigation. And there's two architects here from Tibbetts Weaver, so they can kind of explain what they discovered.
Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Rachel Haynes with Tippett Weaver Architects, and we also have Wendy Tippetts with us. And we presented to the Historical Commission to explain how the current building that was an old mechanics garage looked a little structurally questionable inside. There was extra thick walls and double slabs, so we hired a contractor to go do some exploratory demo for us before we started the project. The project will be a community hub and homeless shelter for the Lancaster County Housing and Redevelopment Authority. So we hired Caldwell, Heckles & Egan to do some exploratory demo for our structural engineers, who are Baker Ingram and Associates, to go in and assess the existing structure. And they were looking for footings primarily. So under the existing walls, are they just stone rubble, or were they built with true foundation walls and footings? And what we found, unfortunately, was 95% of that old warehouse building was just old stone rubble walls, and therefore wouldn't support the weight of our new second story. So the structural engineer's recommendation was to remove those existing exterior walls and rebuild them with the correct footings to support the new structure.
Wonderful. Are there any questions from the committee? Any questions from the public?
Oh, Councilor Craig, I'm sorry. I'm not officially in the committee, but I do have a question. I'm just curious, what year was the original building built? Obviously, it fits in the Historic Commission, but when was it built?
Good question. We believe the mechanics garage portion was from around 1915, and there is an adjacent row home to the north that we're keeping. We're not demoing any of those walls, and that was, I believe, from the 20s. And then what we're calling the SRO building, the single room occupancy building, it's a little vinyl box on Water Street. We feel like that was maybe the early 2000s. We haven't found architectural drawings for that yet, but we're keeping that. So the really, the sturdy little townhouse and the newer construction are sufficient. It's just that warehouse that used to be in industrial use that they sort of added on to over the years just to get to the next phase of operation just aren't sound.
And to follow up on that, and maybe Ms. Kepperling might know this answer as well, I'm assuming that you mentioned it was Mechanics Garage. It's been changed significantly over the years. Would you say that that's correct?
Yes, it's always been a one-story building, so no one was particularly concerned with the structure of it because we want to add a higher density use onto that site. We want to be able to house the homeless, and we also want to offer some more affordable housing options in the city. We decided to build one additional level above, and that will be single-room occupancy apartments to create more affordable housing.
Thank you.
And when will the project start?
Construction or be open?
Just start.
Okay. Start construction by the end of this year, so hopefully end of December, beginning of January. And then we're anticipating a 12-month construction schedule, so hoping to be able to house people in January 2026.
Great. Questions from the public?
Yep, Tim Stuhlder, One United Lancaster. So first, just a clarifying question. Are we saying that essentially the entire complex does not have appropriate footings, or are we just talking about one small portion of the complex?
For the warehouse building, the entire perimeter footprint of the building was considered not appropriate to build on top of again. We are going to keep the southern wall as is to not affect the neighbors and the property line. So we will be building a new structural wall to the inside of that. So doubling up on the existing structure to build up in that location out of respect for the neighbors. In the east wall location, which faces Prince, and the west wall location that faces water, we'll be removing those completely and building in that same footprint location exactly up.
And then how much does this add to the cost of the project, and what is the current best estimate for project cost?
We're still working through the drawing set, and once we have a further set, then we will submit to the contractor for an estimate. So we will go back to Caldwell, Heckles, and Egan for a budget.
When do you anticipate doing that?
That would be mid-October.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from council as a whole? I'll make a motion to move this to full council on the 10th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That completes community planning.
Thank you very much, Councilor Craig. We'll now move to the Public Works Committee meeting. Councilor Hirsch.
Thank you, Council President. Public Works Committee has two items on our agenda this evening. The first of which is an update from the Lancaster Rec Commission. Executive Director Heather Digay is here to present that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. I'm Heather Digay. I'm the Executive Director of Lancaster Rec. I've been at Lancaster Rec for 8 years and 6 years in the role as Executive Director. And I believe there's a PowerPoint presentation imminently, potentially, that I provided. But I just wanted to say thank you. In July, City Council approved the proclamation for making July Parks and Rec Month. And so we're appreciative of that. And at that meeting, you guys asked me for an update of what is going on, and I didn't have anything prepared. So I figured I would return and give you an update of where we're at. So Bernie, if you could go probably to the third slide. That's me. Thank you. Here we go, who we are. So just some background information. Lancaster Rec was established in 1909. Lancaster City was one of the first cities to celebrate public recreation and recognize a need for having places for kids to play. So it was started as the Lancaster Playground Association. Next slide. And so what we do today is serve thousands of residents in key areas in Lancaster City and Township in education and childcare programs, adult and youth fitness activities, senior centers and older adult activities, and family programs and special events. And we are an intergovernmental agency between Lancaster Township, the City of Lancaster, and the School District of Lancaster. Next slide. A little bit about our organizational structure. Many of you know this because many of you are either on or have been on my board, but at the top of our organizational structure is the residents, the City of Lancaster and Lancaster Township. We have the mayor, school board superintendent, and township supervisors overseeing that, and then some appointed representation of those entities on our board, 2 school board members, school district CFO, director of Department of Public Works, residents of Lancaster, city council members, and township appointed members as well too. They make up our board, who oversee me, and then we have our 3 administrative offices, which are administrative services, childcare and education, and recreation services. Our budget is a bit unique as well too, in that we receive about 11% of our support from municipal funding, and the rest is typically program generated. I'm glad Bob was here because he and I are actually really similar, so it was nice to meet him. We had a little meeting knowing that we're going to be neighbors soon. So you'll see about 70% of our revenue overall comes from our childcare programs, and the rest is generated through other programming, fundraising, and sponsorships as well too. Next slide. To support the rec, we also have the Lancaster Rec Foundation. It was created in 2019 as a 501c3 to continue to provide sustainability to the organization. We've almost reached our goal of fundraising $1 million for a general endowment. We're continuing that to now try and raise $2 million, but that's an additional resource we have to support the commission. Next slide. So just to provide you with some updates from this year, you may see some familiar faces in these photos, and just to let you know what we're up to. So next slide. You've definitely heard about the Price Elementary School project. That's probably the biggest thing we're up to. And we're renovating and acquiring the former Price Elementary. We're working with Warfel Construction and Murata Main Architects currently to develop designs to serve the community. It will serve as our new administrative offices, as well as expand our childcare offerings, offering around 200 more early child education spots and 200 to 300 more school age and summer camp spots for Lancaster. We know after the childcare gap analysis that was conducted by the City of Lancaster and School District, that particularly school age is a large need in the community. So we're looking for this space. We'll be able to expand that. Next slide. Some updates on our summer programs. We had our special events, Open Streets, kind of kicked off the summer season for us in May. Next year will be our 10th year anniversary, so we're really looking forward to that event. We also hold our Lancaster Beer Gardens in the month of June, July, and August this year. And we started our Lancaster Unity Cup. Just a plug for that, our championship game will be September 14th. We purposefully align it with Welcoming Week out at Lancaster Community Park. So Myanmar is doing really, really well this year. I think they're going to take the cup home. We'll see. Next slide. We also have been conducting programs for senior citizens. We have around 450 seniors that are part of our senior center, usually about 40-50 that attend daily. And then we also work to coordinate events like the Lancaster Senior Games that serves 800 senior citizens in the county for a week at Spooky Nook in May. Next slide. This summer, we also got to participate with the School District of Lancaster to provide summer enrichment. We had 4 new programs. Well, we had 3 new programs and 1 previous program. We did a basketball clinic with CJ from CJ Hoop for Hope. We did a Lego robotics program, an esports program, and we continued our Aqua Adventure program where we had about 90 kids registered, and they received about 20 minutes of swimming instruction daily from a donor that provided free swim lessons. Next slide. Speaking of the pool, we had a really great season this year. The extra hot weather helped a little bit, but we also used this community asset to really make sure that we're providing resource to the community. We had some special events this year, including the Pride Pool Party, and we had a special family event for families of Aaron's Acres to come have a swim night. Next slide. Then we have the summer playground program. I cannot pick favorites, but this is one of my favorite programs. As you know, we operate the 6 wading pools in the city in partnership with the Department of Public Works. We served more than 2,500 children at the programs this summer, and we also coordinate the summer food service in the city of Lancaster. So we served more than 50,000 meals, many of those meals being served at the summer playground program as well in the community. It's a great way for us to distribute those free daily meals. And the summer playground program is also a great first job for neighborhood teens. We have a lot of folks that are able to walk and start working with us at age 14 there. Next slide. We also kept busy with summer camp and our kindergarten academy. So our kindergarten academy served 29 children from ages 3 to 5 at our McCaskey High School location that serves teen parents and the community at large. They got ready for kindergarten prep. And then we also had our summer camp. We served about 315 kids in summer camp this year. This was our all-camp picnic at Longs Park, where we bring all the camps together and they get to compete in fun tug of war and capture the flag and all different types of games that day. It's really fun. Next slide. So we are ready to welcome fall. I always like to come and provide an update to you at least once a year on what we have going on, and we're very excited for the remainder of 2024. Next slide. We have jumped back to school with our childcare programs. We're serving about 100 children in our early childhood programs and around 315 children in school-age programming this year. And next slide. Youth sports are up and running, so we're going to have probably close to 600 participants this fall in soccer, dance, basketball, flag football. We're starting an archery program at Conestoga Pines, and our junior tornado tackle and junior cheer program have record numbers. We've got about 210 kids in those programs. So I encourage you, Sundays, come out to see a game. This weekend was the first game. The B and C teams won, so everyone's really excited about that. Next slide. We've got 2 upcoming events. This week we'll be at the Lancaster Library for the It Takes a Village Volunteer Fair. That's part of the initiative with Age Friendly Lancaster to reach older adults in the community to provide volunteer opportunities, as well as Rectoberfest will be taking place at Conestoga Pines Park in October. We will be working with the Lancaster Science Factory. They have a trebuchet. We will be launching pumpkins. Bloombox has donated about 60 pumpkins for us to smash, and we also are working with Warfel to bring a piece of construction equipment to hopefully do one big giant pumpkin drop. So there will also be other events that happening there. There'll be the Lancaster Beer Gardens, there will be live music and crafts and activities for families as well. It's a free event. Next slide. So what's next for Lancaster Rec? We are in budget and planning for 2025. Very much hoping that 2025, of course, will mean the new building and hopefully moving in there, being able to expand our services. The really neat thing about right now is that I'm trying to focus not only on bringing the existing services we have into the new building, but also dreaming of things that we couldn't have possibly thought of before. It's very typical that I leave work in Brandon Park and see dozens of kids on the playground and down at the basketball court. So we've continued to think about how can we bring resources for our community that they don't already have. So this indoor playground is really cool, and I really want one of those. But we also want to make sure that you're aware that we want to hear from you. We're focusing on some outreach for the community to see what they would like to see for price, and we always know that city council representatives have the constituents in mind, so always making sure that you know that we're open and available for you to bring ideas to us for recreation and education opportunities for our community. And you can always join me for a tour of programs. I'm always happy to do that too. So thank you for having me here tonight. Do you have any questions? That's my last slide.
Thank you very much. I will open up to questions from the Public Works Committee or council as a whole.
Councilor Hirsch.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming here this evening.
Sure.
I'm constantly amazed at how you and your staff juggle all of these balls. As someone who works in providing programming for kids, it's really amazing. And the fact that we're looking to scale up is also incredible. I'm kind of curious, just diving into the Price Project a little bit more, in the community outreach. Can you talk a little bit more about what you might be doing? I know that those plans might be being formed as we speak, but what are some of your ideas for community outreach? And is there any other ways that council can plug into those, or how can we help connect you with people that might want to tell you what they want?
That's really helpful. We are just at the point where we're starting to prepare for community outreach. As many of you know, this process has been a bit of a start and stop. So, we prepared a press release and a communications plan and all of those things, but it never felt like quite the right time to release them. But now it's out, right? Like the project is happening. So we're looking now how to engage with community members. Actually, tonight at the at Rodney Park, there's an esports information session. So we just hired a director of esports. We expect that to be a large part of the programming opportunity we have moving into this building with a computer lab. And one of the summer enrichment programs was esports. And as soon as it ended, we had people calling us saying, when are you going to do esports programs? So we were really fortunate that the individual that built the programs over the summer was able to come on our staff full time. And we're really looking forward to building out programming, particularly for middle school and high school kids, because that's kind of a niche that we don't really offer a lot of programs to. So we're starting to answer your question. We'll be doing some outreach to folks specifically to price itself, but also focus around program areas as well too. For example, again, I said the basketball courts are always full. We worked with CJ this summer and he said, I really want a winter league. And I said, well, not this winter, but probably in the future, I'll have some space for you to hold a winter league. So there's conversations both happening, I think, about the physical location and then the programming piece too. The physical location will be a bit of a challenge. It will not suit all of our recreation needs. It will primarily be a childcare facility. So we're really conscious that we want to make sure we're setting proper expectations with residents, that there's not going to be an ice skating rink or a swimming pool or a fitness center, because the space just won't allow us to do that.
That's great context. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Councilor Hirsch?
Councilor
Royal. Thank you, Heather, for the
Sure.
presentation. Question regarding the childcare numbers. Curious to know, I think I know the answer to this, but have numbers bounced back as far as the classroom, and then with the new move into price, can you talk a little bit about the additional seats that you'll be able to have for childcare services?
Sure, absolutely. So I'll start with school-age care. So the school-age care gap analysis found that we've got about 6,000 school-age kids in the school district of Lancaster. Realistically, about 2,000 to 3,000 of those kiddos would benefit from having access to RAP care. And as of now, the school district's got about 600 spots, and we're 315 of those. The next largest provider after us is the YWCA with 30 spots. So there is an absolute need for RAP care. My heart goes out to the parents who call me that are on wait lists at Fulton or Wharton or Wickersham and say, please, can you get me in? And I say, I don't have any more space. So the district has been great partners with us to find solutions to some of those things, but it's gotten to a point where we just have outgrown some of the spaces we're in. Hiring was a challenge, and during the pandemic, we've recovered from that. We actually are really fortunate. We have compassionate directors that know that a lot of our staff are college students, and so that they work 2 days a week in the afternoon and 2 days a week in the morning, and those are totally different days. So we probably have 35 people filling 20 roles because we just have to piece schedules together. RAP care is challenging. It's a difficult split shift schedule, and you have to have a special heart to work with kids. It's a tough job. Early childhood education, we've seen the numbers return there as well too. We're offering early Head Start, pre-K counts, and Head Start programming now. We just started a Head Start classroom at McCaskey, and so that removes the financial barrier for a lot of parents to be able to access that care. And it also provides really robust RAP services as well too, in-home visits, diapers, formula, access to food. So it's got a lot of benefits as well, and we're happy to see those classrooms filled.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments from council? From the public?
When you're saying RAP, W-R-A-P?
Yes, RAP. Yeah, like wraparound care. Yeah.
I think Councilman Arroyo was asking about future expansion.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry, I didn't answer that part. So we anticipate in the new space, we'll have a total of 12 early childhood education classrooms. That'll be 9 additional to what we have now. So 3 will move with us from the rec building over. But that's a total of 12, so that'll probably be up to around 200 kids to serve in early childhood. And then upstairs is where we'll have our school-age care programs. You can fit the older kids in a lot differently than you can the little ones. So we're hoping between 200 to 250 RAP care spots for school age during the school year, and then probably up to 300 kiddos for summer camp, because again, we'll have access to a gym and a computer lab and different spaces they can kind of move throughout the day. And they do a lot of field trips.
Thanks.
So pretty much doubling the number of kiddos that we serve.
Yeah, how many early childhood education spots do we have now?
105.
105.
105.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, was that question, how many early childhood?
Education spots.
Okay. I just want to make sure because I didn't quite hear it, but thank you.
Any other questions or comments from public council? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Ms. Deegan, for the presentation.
Thank you so much, and thank you again to President Beke and Ahmed for serving on our board. I know they relay back a lot of the work that we do to you guys, so thank you.
Thanks for all you do. The second item on the Public Works Committee agenda tonight is Resolution 66, authorizing amendment of a 2023 Bike It Program grant reimbursement agreement. Believe Director Campbell has some information for us on that.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me to talk about this. I wanted to let you know first that this is it's an amendment to funding, and the request is basically to be able to receive the funding that we've acquired. If you remember, going back a few years, just before I got here as director, we had initiated a bike share program. We were then hit, and it started out relatively ambitiously, but successfully. Then we were hit by COVID, and the numbers went down, as well as the service provider went out of business. We needed to then procure a new service provider, which we successfully did, but that also had provided a challenge to the not-for-profit and the for-profit entities that were helping support the program. We were successful in March of 2023 in getting about $97,000 from the from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation to be able to keep the 10 stations, fleet bike share stations up and running, and that allowed the program to continue to increase. Earlier this year, we were successful in getting additional money from PennDOT as well to expand the program beyond the borders of the city of Lancaster into Manheim Township and elsewhere, as well as to be able to start to switch out existing bikes with e-bikes, electronic bikes. But that did not cover the cost of the existing bikes for the year 2 and 3. When we got the funding in 2023, that was for 1 year out of a 3-year commitment. We then approached PennDOT's congestion mitigation and air quality improvement program, and they were successful with us in giving us $223,000, which will fund the existing bike share program for years 2 and 3, which is great for us. It gives us additional time to continue to build not only ridership and build the financial basis for the program, but also to reconnect with the sponsors, both public and private, that will hopefully make it continue to make it a very successful bike share program. So what we're coming to you for is the ability to receive the funds that have been granted to us, and we very much appreciate anything that you can do. As you probably see, there are more and more bikes on the road. More people are using the bike share program for commuting as well as for day-to-day activities. We find it very, very successful, and the active transportation program in the city of Lancaster connects with the active transportation program at the county level. And we are in the building of our infrastructure, making the connections between the city and the county so that we will have a more robust and a more seamless overall active transportation system.
Thank you very much, Director Campbell. So essentially, it's just us accepting more funds, which we got subsequently by, or through the CMAQ program, essentially.
That is correct.
Okay. Wonderful. Yes, we'll take more money. Are there any questions from the Public Works Committee or Council as a whole? Council President.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Campbell. I appreciate you kind of going back through all of the steps. It's kind of nice to be reminded that these things don't just magically happen.
Correct.
And I appreciate that we've been creative in finding ways to get funding for those years 2 and 3. I'm curious about the sponsorship, and you don't have to get into specifics of who we might approach at this point, but can you speak to what percentage of the program was covered by sponsorships in the past, and/or how much we anticipate we'd like to get covered in the future with sponsorships?
Thank you very much for that question. Generally speaking, if memory serves correctly, about 50 to 75% of the program is covered by sponsorships in the first year of the program, which was ambitious in the beginning anyway, but the organizations were often corporations or the hospitals, because it's health related. They encountered the same types of funding challenges as everyone else did during COVID, and often with the pullout of the original provider, and I forget the name of the original provider, that just was a chilling effect on people wanting to make a commitment to what might have been perceived as an iffy endeavor. We, I think, have successfully proven ourselves as a strong and growing endeavor, and so we're going to redouble our efforts to go back to the private sector and seek funding, private donations, as well as go back to the health organizations.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from council as a whole? From the public?
Again, I forget. I should know. I want to say a name, but if I get it wrong, I'll be lambasted. So I can get back to you with the exact name of the current provider.
The first one was Zagster.
Zagster.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll make a motion to move Resolution 66 to our full meeting of council on September 10th.
Well, that's me because of absences. I will second your motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor Hirsch. We'll now move to the Committee of the Whole. There are 2 items on our agenda this evening. Excuse me. The first is Resolution Number 64. This is recognizing Welcoming Week in the City of Lancaster. I do have this in front of me here. The Welcoming Week is set to take place. Oh, I had it in front of me. My apologies. Open several tabs. Set to take place the week of September 13th through 22nd, and as members of council might recall, it's a way to celebrate our certified welcoming status in the city, and also provide a series of special events that we can help kind of knit our neighbors together. I don't see Director Carrasco from the Department of Neighborhood Engagement, so on her behalf, I'll just mention a couple of the Welcoming Week activities that are planned. There will be of course, this resolution, once we vote on it, and I trust that we will, and the Hispanic Heritage Month resolution, which we'll discuss next. There'll be a kickoff in Yule Plaza on Friday, September 13th. And among other things, as Executive Director DeGay mentioned, the Unity Cup Final Tournament is part of Welcoming Week as well. So I encourage everyone to check out the long series of events for Welcoming Week, and we'll welcome any comments from members of council on the resolution. Hearing none from the public. All right, I will make a motion then that we move this resolution to our next meeting on September 10th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll do it by affirmation. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Using that one. All right, our second one this evening is resolution number 65, 2024, recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month. And this is introduced by both Councilors Diaz and Councilor Arroyo. Councilor Arroyo.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, this resolution is very similar to others that we have done in years past, recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month, which is celebrated on September 15th through October 15th. I want to highlight a couple things that will be happening during this year's Hispanic Heritage Month. Currently, the city is still accepting nominations for the Hispanic Community Achievement Award. So if there are any individuals in the Hispanic community that you feel are worthy of the award, feel free to nominate them. We are also celebrating Cultivar, which is the Hispanic Business Lunch and hosted by the Chamber of Commerce here in the city. That will be happening on October 11th. And then October 5th, the city will be having its Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. So it's going to be a fun-packed Hispanic Heritage Month season.
Thank you very much. Any additional council comments on resolution 65? From the public? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to move resolution 65, 2024 to a next meeting on September 10th.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That concludes the committee of the whole. Mr. Harris, you've submitted your clerk's report in writing to all members of council. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam President, I have.
Thank you very much. Then reaching the end of our agenda this evening, I will hear a motion to adjourn.
Madam President.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
If I may, just to note that there were two late-coming resolutions that have been presented to council that came after this agenda was approved, and they will be appearing on the September 10th agenda, one of which would be an amendment to the sewer plan, so a sewer plan module, and the second would be transfer funds from the Enterprise Loan Fund to the Curb and Sidewalk Repair Fund.
Thank you very much. So members of council, just to make sure that we're aware that you'll see two items on that agenda that we didn't discuss this evening. One is a sewer planning module and another moves funds into our curb and sidewalk repair program. So we will look forward to hearing about those and discussing them at our next meeting. Thank you very much for that reminder. Now, having reached the end of our agenda, I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.